Today we're going to be learning a bit more about HTML, and we're going to be doing a quick introduction to CSS and style tags. Before we do anything else, I'd like you to make a new folder on the desktop. I'm going to call it Web Design. So make sure you have this folder, and this is where we'll put all of our web design projects. I'd like you to make a folder inside of web design called biography. We're doing a biography project right now, so that's what we're going to call it. Inside of biography, it's going to be empty right now, but this is where we're going to be saving all of our documents. Right now we're just going to have HTML documents. But it's going to be very important to understand how organization works in web design projects. Okay. So go into Sublime Text, go ahead and make a new file. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a biography page. Now the biography page is actually going to have three separate pages. We're going to have a home page, which we're going to save as index.html. So to start off with, we're just going to save this. Make sure we save it in the right place. Make sure we save it in web design and biography as index.html. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make this page. This is going to be our home page. And then after that, we're going to make two separate pages. We're going to make the About Me page, and then we're going to make the Contact Me page. So the home page is just going to have some basic directions of what the site does, like this is a biography of myself and welcome, and we could put some images in if we wanted to. So let's start off by making the title of the page Mr. Lewis, a biography. And if you remember what the title tag does, is this will put Mr. Lewis, a biography into the tab of whichever browser we're using. And I'm going to start off the body with an h1 tag, and this is going to be the biography of Mr. Lewis. And remember, these are called heading tags. So you want to make sure you're using heading tags only for headings. It's very important that you do that. Browsers actually use headings as a way of organizing entire documents. It's very important that you don't forget that. You'll generally want to use paragraphs for text. So if we press Control-S to save, we can right-click, open in browser, and see what it looks like. And there we go. So we have, the title here, and then we have the body here, the biography of Mr. Lewis. Very good. So now let's add some more things. Well, how about this? We can actually start making our next HTML document. So if you double-click on the tabs, you can actually just shortcut that. We're going to call this one About Me, _me.html. This is where we're going to be putting our biography mostly. So here we'll make the title About Me. And then this is where we're going to put some, text. Now, traditionally, the text that you put in, we're not going to write the biography right now, but we might just want to use some lorem ipsum. And lorem ipsum is traditionally just some dummy text. It's borrowed from a bunch of old Latin things, and you can just copy and paste it. It just gives you a ton of text that you can just use. If you highlight all of that and press tab, it'll tab everything over. And if you know that there's going to be something there, but you don't know exactly what, we'll put a heading, just about me. Save it. So one thing you might notice is that even though inside the paragraph tag, the P tag, even though inside the paragraph tag we did distinguish between separate paragraphs, here it's not reflected. If you actually want to make separate paragraphs, you can put in what's called a break tag. And a break tag basically will just, go to the next line for you. So if you put a break in between each of your paragraphs, save it, open. There you go. So now you'll notice that they're all separate, that they're all on separate lines. On the other hand, we could have actually just, if you want to put a line between them and have them look like actual paragraphs, you can actually just make them all separate paragraphs. No reason you can't do that. That should be an opening tag. There we go. So that's probably pretty good, and that's probably what we're going to be doing. Now, let's say we want to put in some extra headings. So let's say that this, for example, is, early life. Think about what a biography might look like on Wikipedia. You typically have something like the early life. Possibly career. Family. Adult life. So now we're starting to get somewhere. We're starting to make it look like, kind of a, this is starting to have a look of a real web page. Now, we want to make sure that we can actually get to this page, because currently in the index page, this is what the user is going to see initially. The user is just going to initially see the index page. But right now, we can't get anywhere with the index page. For this, we can actually just use what are called anchor tags. So let's go ahead and make a tag that looks like this. It's called href. This is what we use to link. We use the href attribute of the anchor tag. And we're going to say, we're going to link to aboutme.html. So if we save that, you'll notice that there's now an About Me page, and then when we click on it, it links to that About Me page that we just made. Now, I want you to understand that there's a difference between an absolute URL and a relative URL. An absolute URL will be something like this. I'm just going to make a comment. This is a relative URL link. And we're going to also have an absolute URL link. So I'm just going to copy and paste it because it's mostly going to be the same. But let's say we want to just link to something like google.com. Then what we want to do is we have to actually put in the whole URL. We save it, open. Cool. And you'll notice that there's actually that there's not a space between the links. So we could actually use the break tags for that. Or we can put them in separate paragraphs. Either way works. Let's just break tag. That's one separate line. Cool. So this was an example of an absolute URL because we actually put in the full URL, which you would put into a web browser. Or a relative URL, if we know a file name, we can actually just use that. And there are all kinds of things we're going to be learning about relative URLs because it's not always obvious what's happening. But the reason we can do this is because index.html is in the same folder as the about me.html page. They're called siblings. And when you want to reference other things that are in maybe like you can always reference other things that are in other folders, but there's more to it than that. But for now, all you need to know is that if they're in the same folder, we can simply link to it by using a relative URL. Okay, so what else can we put on our page? Well, how about a contact me page? So why don't we go ahead and just make a new page. I'm going to copy and paste some of the general structure just so I don't have to type it again. And we might just be replacing some of it. So we'll make the title of the page Contact Me. And there are some things, what can we put in for contact information? Maybe we can put in, so first of all, let's put the title of the page, maybe contact me. Say contact by phone as a subheading. And we can just put in something like, we can also say contact by email. Now, there's actually a cool thing you can do with emails, and I'll show you how that works. So we can actually we can use an anchor tag, and then there's a special way we can do this attribute where we say mail to and then the email. You can always just add some more information in. Just open it in the browser. Very good. So now we actually have everything fully functional almost, but let's go ahead and add one more link. We're going to add one more relative URL link. This time it's just going to be contactme.html. When we do that, we'll probably want to put a break in between these. So here's our web page, and we can click on the About Me page. We can go to the Contact Me page, or we can go to google.com. One more thing I'd like to do is on each of these separate pages, we probably want a way to just get back to the original site. So why don't we just go ahead and put a link to index.html down here. We'll call that home. We'll put the same thing down the Contact Me page. Alright, so let's go ahead and open, just make sure everything works right. Let's go ahead and open the index, see if everything works okay. Go to the About Me page, we can go back home, we can go to the Contact Me page, go back home. All right, this is starting to look pretty good, but you know, it's kind of bereft of color, and I think I'd like it to be a bit more colorful. So why don't we start looking at something called the style tag. Inside the head, we can put in something called style. Now here we're going to be putting in something called CSS, and you're going to learn a lot more about CSS later, but for now we're just going to do some very basic things. So I want to give a background color to the entire page. To do that, we can apply it to the body. So this is the general syntax. If you want to apply a styling to every aspect of an element, for example, the body, in this case we want to, we say body, and then we have these curly braces. Now, typically when we do our styling, we're going to be putting it into a separate CSS file, but for now, let's just go ahead and put it in the head. You can also do it like this, where you put you have a style tag inside the head tag. So to change the background color, and you'll also notice that if this is saved as an HTML, you'll be able to just type things, and Sublime Text is smart enough to actually know what kinds of different attributes there are. We're just going to do background color though. And let's go ahead and look for a color. So let's go for HTML color picker. So that W3 Schools is a good one. And let's say I just want like really something like pretty non-offensive. It's nothing too bright, but this other one looks pretty good. So we have this. So we have this hexadecimal. So this is hexadecimal, and the way it works is this is the shape. This is the saturation of red, saturation of green, saturation of blue. And we'll put a semicolon to end it. So let's save. Open in browser. So now we have this. Now we have the background color. It sort of clashes with the links, so I'm going to choose something a bit less blue. That's kind of nice. So how about CCFF99? Let's do that. Much better. Let's make sure this is also applied to every other page. So let's go ahead and put this in the head of our other pages. So we open it, go to the About Me, Contact Me. Very cool. There are a lot more things we can do with styling. This is really only scratching the surface of it. To kind of show you some things that you can do with styling, let's go to the About Me page. So it might be nice for the About Me page to have some sort of outline, kind of like on Wikipedia. So in Wikipedia, typically the way it works is there's some sort of table of contents. Kind of looks like this. It's got this nice frame around it, but let's just say we just want a list of things and we just want to be able to link to different parts of the page. So before we do anything else, we're going to give an ID to every part of this. We're going to give an ID tag. And an ID tag is actually fairly useful because it allows us to... Oh, sorry, messed that up. It allows us to refer to an individual element without having direct access to it. In this case, we're going to be linking to it. So we're going to be in our table of contents, we're going to set it up so that the page will automatically go down. So for example, right here, on this biography of Alan Turing, for example, we're going to If we click on early computers in the Turing test, we're still on the same page, but it takes us down to where it says early computers and Turing test. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to try to do with our page. So once we have our ID set up, let's go ahead and set up a table of contents. So we're going to set up an unordered list. And we're going to put all the list elements inside. You don't really need to underscore for that, that's just text. So let's see what that looks like. So we have this table of contents, but for right now we don't have links to it yet. So why don't we go ahead and make these links? To do that, we'll say href, and this time when we're linking to something, we put just a hashtag in front of it like this. When we do that, let's just do it like this. So we put let's put the href inside of the list tags. There we go. And that's going to link down to it. So now let's do this for all of them. So we'll put in the href tag in. We'll put in the corresponding ID name. In this case, it's career. So now we have some links, and now it's actually going to go down. It's not going to be too obvious until we put more text in, so why don't we go ahead and just go to our warm ipsum generator. I'm just going to make everything longer, and we will see the fruits of our labor a bit more obviously. So now when we reload the page and we click family, it's actually going to go down right to the family section. When we click on adult life, so what's wrong here? So the ID has an underscore here and it didn't have an underscore on top. So let's go ahead and add that. So we reload adult life, goes right down to it. So that's it for the biographies. At some point in the future, we're going to make these a bit more interesting. But for now, let's review what we learned. We learned about style tags. We learned about anchor and hrefs, how to use relative links and how to use absolute links, how to use headings, how to use lists, how to make a table of contents. We learned about lorem ipsum and just using kind of dummy text to fill in space. We learned about ID tags and how to link to specific things on the page.